Thank you. Michael Paymar.
Well, thank you. My opponent just talked about law enforcement being adequately funded, but let's keep in mind that the city of St. Paul has lost over $30 million in the last 3 years because of the Governor Palente's cut in local government aid. If we don't have LGA adequately funded, it's going to be difficult for cities like Minneapolis and St. Paul. The end result of that is, when we talk about taxes, is that both cities are going to be raising their property taxes because we need police and fire protection. As chair of the Public Safety Committee in the House, I've been very concerned that our courts are adequately funded, that we fund problem-solving courts for people who have chemical dependency problems, domestic violence, and an increasing problem with veterans coming back with post-traumatic stress disorder. And the most important thing I think that we can do is fund early childhood education programs. Every educator, parents know this, if you put your kids into ECFE and other programs, they're less likely to get involved in the criminal justice system.
Thank you. Paul Holmgren.
Well, I heard two questions. One was anti-bullying legislation, what is its place? And the second one was how are we supposed to feel safe in our communities? First off, these bullying incidents should be governed by the school districts in which they happen, and by the cities and the communities in which they happen. The state legislators have more important things to do than say, well, Johnny shouldn't pick on Billy. Secondly, public safety, or safe in homes. My parents raised me, excuse me. I learned at home that it was self-esteem, and it was knowing who you are. That's something the state can't pass in a bill.
Thank you. So, chance for follow-up or rebuttal, Rena Moran.
You know, I work for a nonprofit called Prevent Child Abuse Minnesota, and that's what we work a lot on, prevention. And I think we have to focus on how we can help support families who may be in crisis, but we must find ways to support our young people. And not that it's just young people who are creating violence in the street. There's, people are under stress these days with the loss of income, with the loss of housing. But we have to be really much more on the preventive side of supporting families and communities.
Thank you. Carlos Mariani.
Well, I just want to say something very quickly about the anti-bullying legislation. Folks, it's our responsibility as the adults to teach our younger folks how to behave like decent, dignified human beings. That doesn't start when you're older. That starts when you're very, very young. Picking on people, it's not a trivial thing. There are young people who are committing suicide in our country, here in Minnesota, because they've been quote-unquote picked on. We need to have strong messages to our young people. We need to guide them. We need to have strong expectations of them that they need to treat one another with respect, regardless of whether they're gay, lesbian, man, woman, overweight, thin. They need to learn that essential, important element. And so that is very much what the laws should be doing, is sending those strong sets of expectations for our young people. Let's get at these issues of violence early. Let's treat bullying very, very seriously, because it's a very serious reality for young people.
Thank you. Jamie Dalton.
I take bullying seriously, and I will just repeat the concerns I had with the existing statutes, which seem to single out charter schools and don't even mention the public schools at all. But the essential concept and what Carlos mentioned, I think it's very important. We set an example. We're community leaders, and I think everybody realizes here, it's so unnecessary because all these Cretan guys, I'm sure, realize the importance and lead by example themselves. So.
Thank you. And a follow-up, Andrew Smith.
Let me first admit I am not I'm not an expert in the criminal justice system. The first time I ever saw a judge, I was a newborn baby, and it was my adoption The last time and the next time I was 16 and I had to go in front of a judge to pay a traffic ticket. Other than that, I've stayed out of it. That said, our criminal justice system is a response mechanism. It's the nature of it. We need to understand that. We need to make sure that it handles, though, is to keep away repeat offenders. As I said, if somebody does perpetrate a crime, we need to make sure that they do go away, do go to jail, and if they're going to continue to do it, we need to make sure that they don't get out in the general populace again and again.
Thank you. Michael Paymar?
Well, let me say that I think the legislature should reintroduce its anti-bullying bill that was vetoed by the governor last year. In fact, we should reintroduce the one that we originally introduced, which was much tougher. I think schools are a place that we teach some important values and lessons to our kids. Whether it be bullying, whether it be sexual abuse, sexual harassment, or domestic violence. This is an opportunity for us, for educators, to have important discussions with useful curricula that teach kids about the impact of such harassment. And for those of you who are opposed to the bullying legislation, talk to the parents who now have to deal with the fact that one of their children has committed suicide because of bullying. It's not the only answer, but the school is where our kids are, and all of our institutions in our community should be addressing this problem so no parent, no family has to deal with such tragedy.
Thank you. And Paul Holmgren?
Okay. Carlos, I agreed with part of what you said. I'm trying to not fit myself into what you said, but it starts at home. It starts when you trip and fall and you don't think you can walk, and your parents pick you up again and they say, walk again. And it starts when you don't like somebody and you say something bad about them and your parents say, no, don't say that. You're not supposed to say that. And I'm going to make a great leap, but one of our founders, I believe it was Thomas Jefferson, said the government that is best is the government closest to the people. If we govern ourselves in our homes and our families, and I realize our broken homes and broken families, we will have a better basis for a community. It's sad to see the safety net we've established now suffocate us as a culture.
Thank you. Our next question will start with Carlos Mariani. As has been said, I have before up here, we know that a good portion of the state budget is education. So what would you do as a legislator to maintain adequate funding for our E-12 education system in the state?
It's going to be really tough. I'll be real honest with you. But let me just say, 60 years ago, the people of Minnesota in the midst of Great Depression the people voted to institute an income tax in our state. And they did that in the middle of a Great Depression, and they did it because they wanted to target those resources to a public K-12 education. The message from the people of Minnesota has been consistently clear through the generations. We value the nurturing of our young people. We value the education of our young people. If it requires us to raise taxes and target those directly and exclusively for K-12 education, then I'm prepared to do that.
Thank you. Jamie Delton.
Thank you, Linda. The importance of education, I can appreciate. The unions I do have a concern with. They seem preoccupied with the national unions that they are associated with, such as the AFL-CIO and other national unions that Education Minnesota is associated with. They seem to be more focused on those interests than any interest in the districts or any interest in the Department of Education. We have a very competent Department of Education, and I believe Alice Seagren, current commissioner, and if the unions would work more closely with the commissioner, I think we would get a lot done as far as possibly looking at some consolidation, dealing with declining enrollment, taking advantage of declining enrollment to save money.